Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently working on finalizing some of the concepts for our lander here. Now we're still very much in the simulation stage, and we have a couple more simulations to do. The first thing that we absolutely have to do is we have to get this to pass our re-entry simulation. And I did add another reaction wheel in there. We'll see how that ends up going. But for right now, of course, we're just going to pop this out onto the pad, and then from there, directly over to Eve. This is, of course, going to be reverted. This is only meant to be used as an aerodynamic simulation to see how our re-entry not really re-entry, but our entry profile ends up looking. So we are, of course, going to set our orbit over Eve here to be something like that. Yes. Excellent. And we are also going to have infinite propellant for right now, for the purposes of this simulation. Because we don't actually have any propellant in this, and we're not planning to have any propellant in it, but we do need to be able to alter this orbit. So that will be just fine. Let's go ahead and zoom this on out. And let's begin firing our thrusters. I'm zoomed out, of course, because this gets very loud if we're not zoomed out. Just keeping an eye on this periapsis right now, I think we'll just target somewhere around 50 kilometers as the periapsis. That should be more than plenty. So we'll just bring that right on down, target 50, and let's see how this ends up going with having the extra SAS module in there. The other SAS module that we added here improved it dramatically. I jettisoned it. So I'm dumb. We already knew that. It's a good thing this is a simulation, right? We can always just restart the simulation. So we will, in fact, do exactly that. Okay, let's try this again. Back to retrograde. Orbit retrograde. Okay, there we go. And this is basically the way we want to land this, except that we will be removing these twitch engines. Man, that's loud. And that is why we're going to sit back here. Okay, so we will be removing those twitch engines, and once we get this landed, we're going to have to design some form of guidance for our rover module, which is going to be a portion of this. Now, that's going to be essentially 2 spacecraft, and that's okay. For now, though, we'll just bring this on down. And in terms of our X-Science Here and Now window, where is that? Okay, we're plenty low on the periapsis. Okay, so yeah, we can see that we're in space near the lowlands right now, and this time I'm going to actually inflate the heat shield. That will likely help. Okay, let's pull it out of maneuver mode for now, and let's position this at about 92 kilometers. We'll just let this head on back to the retrograde node. It definitely needs to be there before we begin this re-entry, but this is quite a payload to be landing. There's no doubt about that. The other things that we are testing here, of course, include whether these parachutes are sufficient or not. We definitely need to simulate that. I have no idea what the drag for those parachutes is going to be in the ludicrously thick Eve atmosphere. One more thing that we are looking for out of this particular simulation is we are looking for determining if these radiators are sufficient for cooling or not on Eve. So that's overall what we are looking to determine. Of course, we're in the atmosphere right now, and we are beginning to slow down. So, well, we're technically still accelerating over the surface as we fall towards the periapsis, but that is pretty much what we expect. So, a periapsis of 40 kilometers, of course, means that that's going to continue to drop. And, I mean, we're definitely going to be entering dayside, which is what we will be doing in reality as well. But fingers crossed that this is enough SAS power. If it's not, we may have to consider putting an SAS here for re-entry only. Now, up till now, all of the SAS that we've added have been in the descent module. The ascent module only has this single ASAS. So that is definitely something to note. I would normally physics warp here, but that will absolutely mess with the results of this simulation. So we are not going to do that right now. Our electric charge is just a chillin' right now. One thing we may want to consider is a small amount of unfolded solar panels, like here, that would be used for this stage, if we run into power issues in these simulations. I'm guessing we won't, but we'll see. For right now, this appears to be holding very nicely, but we've gotten this far before. I forget what point it was that we ended up losing attitude previously, but we were still going far too fast. I believe it was somewhere around 60 to 65 kilometers. So somewhere around here. Now, we are expecting to be able to hold the attitude better. The real question is, can we hold the attitude well enough? This atmosphere on Eve is very tricky to deal with. So we shall see. So far, our heat is looking okay. And we did see heating effects popping up over here, or heating thermometers, rather, popping up over here, like bars. Yeah, these guys. So we're still not quite to where we were before when we lost attitude, before this ASAS was added. If we end up losing attitude again, we're going to have to perhaps rethink this. But so far, we're doing okay. We can see here that we are slightly off on our yaw, but overall, we're holding nicely. We have dropped a lot of speed. Like, a whole lot of speed in this simulation so far. There's our attitude loss. Okay. And yeah, that is definitely too soon to lose attitude. 1,000,000% too soon. Well, it definitely wasn't electric charge that caused it. It might have something to do with torque forces here. I saw that this heat shield actually bent, and we're actually remarkably close here. What all burned off? No, seriously, what did we lose? There were a few parts that burned off. Fascinating. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the next part of the test. That was not a successful test, but we're going to do this. Off goes that. Fantastic. And we're going to go ahead and deploy our chutes. Like so. Yeah, that seems to be reasonably okay. We're going to turn the SAS off for right now. The chutes will pull us back around eventually. Ah, I had them in the wrong order. Okay, that's fine. So at this point, we're completely okay with physics warping. We're still quite high up. It's mostly just the attitude loss. It looks like our heat is okay. I'm not actually certain what parts did burn off there. Like, that's really, really unclear to me. So our parachutes will be deploying soon enough. Wow, this looks really weird in this atmosphere. That looks really, really weird. Okay, so here we go down through the ludicrously thick atmosphere. Once again, this is all a simulation. Okay, we can see our first hints of ground here. Technically, this is looking... Yeah, this is going to be a water landing. And that's not really what we're going for, in all honesty. But it looks like our parachute system is probably more than sufficient. That's just drogue chutes slowing us down. That air. Okay, so that was a physics bug. That was absolutely a physics bug, and I think that had to do with the fact that we were physics warping. I'm guessing that's what happened there. However, that did give me most of the information that we needed. Now, as for what parts burned off, I actually have no idea. But I think that we had some joint weakness here that almost certainly contributed to it. So what we can do about that is we can put in a strut here and have it connect out to here. That should, in theory, solve that issue. Now, other issues. How do we know if we're landing on land? Well, we can come in kind of like we do in a vacuum body. We should have plenty of deceleration for that. Maybe not having the delta V required. That said, if we just come down close to our target biome and we get our rover there, then in theory it should be okay. And of course we want to ditch the twitch engines. Now, other things that we might want to address is strength here. I think that's going to be important. As well as potentially strength here. Like that. That should make this a lot more sturdy. Now, we still haven't figured out how we're going to get our Kerbals up and down, right? So, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to detach all of this. We're going to just rotate this guy about like that. And then we'll attach it not quite like that. We'll attach this back in, but I want to rotate that just a wee bit further. Ooh. That's the SAS only there. Okay. Something along the lines of that. That will make things much easier for descending. Now, what to do about the thermal control system? We could potentially simply omit this thermal control system, or we can have ourselves some ladders that would go... This is a hatch, right, on this side? Yeah, it's gotta be, right? Actually, it doesn't necessarily have to be. I think this might be the hatch. Let's save this and put it out on the pad. I need to figure out which side is the hatch, because otherwise it's gonna be real awkward. I mean, we could rebuild it in space, but that causes some physics issues occasionally. As far as the parachute issues go, I am going to address those. I don't think that they are ultimately an issue. Okay, so the hatch is indeed the one I thought it was. So we're going to revert that back to the vehicle assembly. It is this one that is the hatch. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and put our mobility enhancers over here. And I'm going to extend that. And then we'll put another one. It's actually going to have to go like right here. And then that gets us down to here. And from there, we can perhaps do something like this. Now that doesn't quite get us all the way down. But we could simply put in some mobility enhancers there that I think gets us close. We're going to have to test this, for sure. And we will do that. So let's put in another set of mobility enhancers there. And then we're going to have to be able to climb down one of these, all the way down to the ground. So we're going to do something along the lines of, actually, I'm going to use the bigger prefab one. If I can grab these off of here. There we go. Yeah, we're going to do something like this. And, well, we can't do it down here. We're going to probably have to do an extendable one. So we can put in something kind of like this here. And then that would extend down like that. That is physics-less, and I think that'll get us where we need to go. So I'm going to save this, and we're going to remove this. This will be decoupled when we're on the ground. And then we're going to put this out on the pad with the landing struts extended. So we're going to launch that without saving it. And let's see how that mobility system ends up working. It should be exactly the same on Kerbal and Eve, in all honesty. Okay, so we're sitting here like this. Fantastic. And we can just extend this ladder right on down. And we're going to have Jebediah hop on out and be like, so... that's a small problem. Okay, he can do that. That works. And then he can climb down to here. And then he just kind of falls to his doom. Okay. So this is definitely going to be problematic for him. He can jump and grab this. And he can actually clip through this leg. So it would appear that this section works just fine. There are a few sections that I would not claim... Well, actually, that kind of didn't work just fine. Is there not really a way for him, once he gets up here, to climb onto this section of the girder? Just kind of plummets. Oh, we probably need to do that climb out, don't we? Yeah, climb out is what we needed. Okay, so then we come over here, and we grab this, and up we go. That gets us up to here. Okay. And then from here, we are, of course... Hello. From here, we are pretty stuck. Reason being that this radiator is here. Okay. So let's hop on back. We have found a couple of issues with our climbing and, well, elevation and descent systems here. I'm also going to move our radial mount drogue chutes before I forget. We're going to move those to simply be up here. Okay, so we'll do that, and I'm going to move our thermal control systems as well. We are going to move those to be down here. That should give us a little bit more space to work with here. We're also going to put in some mobility enhancers up here at the hatch. And we'll have it just go in something like this. In theory, that should be enough. Now, I know that we don't have our modular girder segment here. I'm going to put it back in for the sake of the save. So we'll put in the modular girder segment and the 10-meter heat shield. We'll save that, and we'll remove that back out of there. And then we'll launch this again, quote-unquote, launch. We're testing our ladder system right now, is what is happening. I believe that this ladder system will now be fully functional. We'll see. Okay, so we will have Jebediah go ahead and EVA. He is going to not climb up. Okay, so he doesn't like to grab on here, but what we should easily be able to do is that. Yes. Fantastic. So Jebediah climbs on down. The question I now have is, can we grab on from here with a jump? The answer is maybe. The answer is I don't think so. We can, however, make our way down here. We'll have to address that. No big deal. Okay. And we probably want to consider... I can't remember if Eve's gravity is higher or lower than Kerbin's, but we probably want to not be reliant on jumps. Which ends up meaning that we should revert that back to the vehicle assembly and do two things. Thing one that we should do is that we should come over here and absolutely put in some mobility enhancers right here. Like that. And we're going to go ahead and retract this ladder as well as this ladder. That's not the ladder. This is the ladder. Fantastic. We'll also retract this ladder. And as far as this goes, we are actually going to move this ladder until it is roughly there. And then we will retract that, like so. And we will place in some mobility enhancers relatively lined up. Something along the lines of that-ish. I think I'm actually going to zoom in over here and take a quick look at these. Yeah, I think we can get away with moving them down ever so slightly, which is exactly what we want. Something along the lines of that. Okay, that should be our mobility solution, relatively sorted. So, once again, I'm going to put in the modular girder segment. It would not do to forget that heat shield. That should be under structural. And we'll place that there and put in the heat shield as well, like so. And I believe that these thermal control systems may actually work even better where they're at. Now, I'm unclear how they're going to work on cooling the drill-o-matics, and that's something that we should definitely test. So we're going to remove that. Whether they'll just have the heat transfer from that distance is what I'm inquiring about. Not necessarily whether they'll work on Eve. That's a whole nother question. Temperatures are quite a bit higher there, so that is definitely something to consider. So let's go ahead and get these all going for now. Again, this is all just testing and ensuring that these concepts will work. Okay. We do have surface access. That is fantastic. And we are expecting these to currently begin overheat. And indeed, they definitely are. But we can put our radiators out. And yeah, we're burning power right now. That's to be expected. It looks like that is working on Kerbin anyway. Yeah, this appears to be working fine. So while that's going, we're going to have Jebediah hop on out. He is going to hop his way down, and we're just going to test that he can get down and back up. So he'll come down to here, and he'll just open these ladders as he goes. Excellent. That takes him straight on down to here, and then he can safely let go. He wanders over here because we have to change our angle. And he kind of falls to his doom. I messed that up. That wasn't a problem of the mobility system. That was a problem with me. Instead, we're just going to have him climb back up. If it works one way, it will work the other as well. So he's going to climb on up, phasing right on through the landing gear as, you know, whoa. Don't go upside down, Jeb. Okay, Jeb did not go upside down. That's good. Jeb is a very mysterious man. Okay, so we're going to head on over here. We're going to grab this, Make our way up. So this section appears to work absolutely fine. And then we will climb on out. Wonderful. Grab onto this, and up we go. Yeah, absolutely no flying or jumping necessary. And that is exactly what we need on a lander like this. Now, for the big question. I was afraid of this. I was afraid that we wouldn't be able to make this transition. If we let go and grab, then we'll just fall to here. We definitely need to be able to make it back into the pad. There's no doubt about that one. So we'll have to tackle this. I think there's no way around that. But let's go ahead and switch back to the actual vehicle here. And I'm going to just accelerate time a little bit. Oh, we can't warp faster than 1x while Kerbals are on a ladder. Rude. Regardless, I think it's safe to say that our thermals are working fine on Kerbin. So that means that there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this concept. Other than, you know, the whole thing. Okay, so we're going to revert that back, and that means that we need to work on a couple of things. We need to work on this transition, which we knew that we needed to work on. And we need to work on our actual rover. I'm going to try simply placing this like that. And hopefully that will do the trick. Maybe even move it inward a little bit, like that. I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. At any rate, we need to work on our rover, and we need to work on our re-entry profile. There is absolutely no doubt about that one. It is, however, time to put a cut in here, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to continue working on this mega project, which is actually getting fairly close to fully formed. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.